Hello again, this is Charlie Bellefontaine, and you're listening to the Homebuyers Hour on WCPT AM 820. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about history and where we're going in real estate.
513-6314. You can find me on Instagram at I'm Steve Davis and on Facebook.
Outstanding. Patrick, please.
Man, Steve, wake up, buddy. My name is Patrick Loftus. I'm a real estate lawyer.
Drinking my coffee.
We'll trigger him.
Yeah, drink. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Nice
Yeah, I
gurgle.
can see him waking up as the caffeine hits the. Anyways, real estate lawyer, like I said, really serious dude. Find me on social media for more serious takes on real estate and law and other stuff. On Instagram, Loftus_law. On TikTok at Loftus Law.
Sounds good. And Joey, give us your intro and then tell me why the rates have dropped.
Hi, my name is Joey Mathews, NMLS 1330694. You can find me at the VALoanNerd.com across all the social medias is at the VA Loan Nerd, or you can call or text me at 630-235-2405. And this morning the rates are dropping because the JOLTS report data came back, the job opening and labor turnover report came back at low, and last month got revised lower. So, let me see those numbers real quick. They're somewhere on my dashboard. Man, I have so much crap here. This is just goofy. Yeah, so expected for this month was 8.1 million in job openings and labor turnover. Last month was 7.91. It got revised down from 8.2. And it actually came back at 7.6. So long story short, what does that mean? It means there are not enough jobs. There's less jobs. There are less jobs available. So labor market continues to loosen, and it just provides hope. What they're hoping is that there's a 50 bips rate cut from the Fed. I doubt there will be in September. They're still going to do 25 bips, but it provides a glimmer of hope that they'll go higher.
And then I also heard that there's also less houses that are being put under contract right now. I don't know. Do you have any stats?
You know, you can ask a man to give you statistics.
I would definitely say no to that. I mean, there's a lot of properties out there. I'm going to have to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I was asked the question. You tried to answer it for me.
I was trying to stick up for you, but go for it.
No, that's okay.
I
That's
love
okay.
Unprepared.
You got any
questions.
stats about something we didn't talk about at all until right this second? You can just pull those up right off the top of your head?
That's the way it works.
Ridiculous.
It is, it was an interesting question. No, I would have to say that definitely don't have stats, but I would tell you that properties are out there. They're selling quickly if they're priced right.
Still selling quickly. Okay.
It's still same thing. I mean, I'm not having a hard time at all. Anytime I list anything, it goes very quickly as long as it's priced right. There are certain things that I don't have priced right because, there was an agreement with the owners and so on. And every once in a while you get one of those, so you have to play the market and play the game, see what happens. But for the most part, I've seen everything go pretty fast as long as it's priced right. You have an abundance of buyers. I mean, and as Joey was mentioning, the fact of the rate coming down. And I'd love to hear more about what you think, Joey, about Friday to see what your thoughts are there. But it seems like the market itself is strong, and which is great, and it's very promising to what we're dealing with right now.
Well, this is a great illustration of the difference between when you talk about national numbers and then when you talk locally. We've said it many times, and I'll repeat it. Real estate, if nothing, is extremely local. So whatever's happening in Austin, Texas, doesn't have a lot to do with what's happening in Chicago, what's happening in Los Angeles, New York, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, you name it. If you if you don't like the real estate market you're in, you can probably find one that suits you better. It just might not be where you're expecting to live.
But don't they change too? I mean, even when you talk about the market as far as big cities go, it's also neighborhoods.
They're always changing.
Yeah.
That's the only constant is that they are changing, they are evolving, they are developing. As interest rates, as they change as well, that will also have effects on buyers, sellers, and the rest of us who just like to talk about it on podcasts.
And we do have a lot of social groups in the home inspection business, and guys are talking that it's slow right now. And I feel that we're busy. Our schedule's still full, but I hear people saying that, they haven't had an inspection in a week or two. And it's, a lot of people put it on everybody's going back to school now, so this is typically a slow time. I don't know, Steve, any thought on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, people were, taking vacations. It's usually the slower time in August. And then, of course, now everyone getting back to school. It slows down for probably, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks. Just depends on how much business you do out there as well. And the opportunities. So the fact is that when you can say, oh, something's slow or something's busy, well, you could talk to one realtor and they could say, I'm really busy right now. And then you could talk to another realtor and say they're really slow. I wasn't super busy in the spring like I normally am, but now I'm busy. So it's kind of interesting how it all works. I think the opportunities are there. You just have to, you're going to come across them. And depending on how many people you connect with and how much networking you do and so on makes a big difference. And as far as like sellers are concerned, a lot of the sellers have been on the fence. A lot of buyers have been on the fence. So, we'll see what happens with, with how we progress, as we talked about in real estate now versus in the future.
Yeah. And even going back to the past, and it's kind of what I wanted this whole hour to chat on is, what was it like? I don't know.
It's a beautiful segue there, by the way.
I know. I do what I can. So, like, I started in this business in the early 90s, all right, is when I got into real estate, and more specifically, the home inspection business.
It's the 1990s, right?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
Just the early 1990s.
I'm just
early.
Oh, are you?
making sure.
That's an old guy joke,
It's
right?
a very old guy joke. Apparently.
Yeah, from the 1890s. I got it. That's hilarious.
Are you sure? Because it took you
I'm still getting
a couple
it,
minutes there,
you
buddy.
know?
All right.
But no, when we were doing home inspections back then, everything was on paper. All right, I actually had a printer. All right, that I had to print out these reports. I know, right? You're laughing at me. I actually made hard copies.
Because printers are still out nowadays.
No, they're obsolete. Nobody uses printers anymore. And I even had a fax machine too. Do you know what a
I give you
fax
that
machine
one.
is?
All right.
I don't have a fax
whippersnappers?
machine, but I have a fax number because there is actually a utility to having a fax number, mainly to receive payoff statements from mortgage companies. That's the primary way those are sent.
But there's actually a reason for having these still.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to get rid of my fax number because it would. Yeah, there are still a handful of lawyers out there who will still fax you stuff.
Joey, do you use a fax number?
I do.
Yeah, he's working with lenders.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got to deal with that
Everyone
stuff.
knows it's an online fax though, so it just goes to my email anyway.
It's
Same.
just so it's the same thing. It's just an email basically,
Yeah, same
or it
here.
goes to your email, I should say.
I
Okay.
still like the old joke. People go, well, can you send me a fax? And I'm like, I can't fax from here. And then, well, where are you that you can't fax? I'm in 2024. Move up
there
with
it is.
it.
Now Charlie,
Delayed punchline. I
Oh my
like it.
God, that's
Charlie
brutal.
remembers those fax machines with like that weird paper.
Yeah, it curled up on you.
Oh
I
yeah,
had to get a
you had to
roll.
write. You had to rip the.
Yeah, they
that
didn't
was
use
the-
normal paper. They used
That
like
was
this
the
like
worst.
It was like this shiny, slick paper
And
that
it
felt gross
and you had
in
to
your hand.
and you had to when you took the sheet off, whatever, you had to fold the sides and rip them off.
Yeah,
Held the holes in the side.
it was horrible. It
Yeah.
was a horrible thing that we had to go through, and
You're
now
just
that
a
we don't.
faxist.
I'd say that's probably the worst period of history in time.
I'm sorry. Hold
That's
on.
good.
That was awesome. You
He
are.
does. He just-
I don't
he's
even want to
just
say this
prejudiced
because I'm going to
against
say it
fax
wrong.
machines.
This is
Oh, here comes another
you are
slur.
a faxist.
A faxist.
Is that what you called
Yes,
it?
He doesn't
All
like
right.
fax machines. That's all there is to it.
True.
And he's a little bit prejudiced when it comes to. But even, with the real estate, listings and stuff like that. I remember a catalog. I remember a thick book that
Yeah,
somebody would give
same.
me, and I would be flipping pages and get annoyed by saying, "What do you mean that one's sold and this one's sold?" What a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I remember those. My mom is a realtor, and so we would get brought to work, and there's not a whole lot for like a 10-year-old to do at a real estate office. So, I mean, you go in, I mean, they're literally, 3-4 inches thick, and they had pictures of every house that was for sale. And
Just
that was
one picture.
Yeah, it was just the facade, just the front of the house.
Well, I mean, sometimes there wasn't even a picture, but yeah, I mean, they would come out, I think, every month, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there were stacks of these things sitting around that office.
I still pick up those magazines in the convenience stores, when I'm traveling around or whatever the place is to find local houses. I forgot
Seriously?
what they're called. Yeah, I do.
My dad does that.
I
It's so
actually flip through
obnoxious.
those. Is it?
Oh, it is.
I like the paper stuff. To
Wait,
me,
what
all
makes
this
it
stuff is-
obnoxious, though? I don't understand. It's
I
just-
don't know. It's like a Playboy for house perverts. I don't know. I don't like it.
What?
I told you he was a faxist.
What did that just come
Yeah,
out of
it
you?
did.
God.
I don't know.
Joey?
Yeah, help us out here, Joey. Talk over him or something like that, because something's wrong with this.
He put us
Are
on
we
mute
still on
again.
fax machines right now? Is
There he
that
is.
is that where we're at? Is that faxes?
No.
Well,
We're
wait,
talking
so where
about
I
Playboy
started-
or realtors. What
A
did you
Playboy
say?
for house perverts.
I mean, how? I don't even know how to respond.
I'd like to
that.
be in Chicago Agent magazine. That's what I'd like.
There it is.
How much does that cost? Anyway,
With your
Way
shirt
too-
off, with
way
the
too
firefighter
much.
pants. And it's just,
we're
I
having a
can
good
see it
time.
now. I'm going to take this way off
You
the
need to
rails.
stand by your tank.
I can see it right now. Joey Mathews, all
Oh,
glistening with like some
Oh, heat oiled, yeah.
yeah bits of dirt, all
He is
tanned up.
sexy.
some
No
barbecue
shirt,
dripping
but
off my
like
chin.
Oh, bunker
No-
pants. He's got to wear his old
no
bunker
shirt.
pants to
Oh
the
my
firehouse.
God,
big
Devin's gonna be
pants with the
dying right now.
suspenders and
Yeah.
the boots, and he's got an axe slung over
Now,
his
this is
shoulder.
getting too hot, man. I need to step out this room. I'm getting sweaty in the morning talking about this.
Well, you're gonna go take that phone call while the rest of us
Yeah,
sit here all
that's
stewing in our
literally-
juices.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We're good.
Pain
Yeah.
in my existence.
Well, what was it like though for you way back when, Joey? How did you do? Whatchamacallit that you do the background, finance credit score thingamajiggers that you make sure somebody
Holy
qualifies for a loan.
all right, thingamajigger.
I
Yes,
know.
that's an okay thing to say.
Way
I
back when.
I imagine Joey Matthews with a rifle in one hand and like his
Oh, the
smartphone
many
in
moons
the
ago.
other.
You're talking about that subprime stuff,
We had
man.
bag
huh?
phones
like holding-
back then.
He
A
was
lot of
definitely.
FedExing.
A lot of FedExing.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the respite docs back in 2005 went out via FedEx. Granted, all went out to my home office, so all I had to do was shoot an email to someone and be like, "Hey, jump into this file. You need to send out a package on it." And then they would have to send it back, and it was awful. It was awful.
Was
Because
it
they had
awful?
used fax, it probably would have been better, right? Just too many pages of scan, but they FedExed everything. It was very annoying.
Okay.
But when I got back into the industry, just 10 years ago, 9 years, yeah, 10 years ago, mucho easier at that time. Everything's online
Some
already.
great
you know,
words
so yeah, I'm good at this.
Great words,
Yeah.
great phrases today, for sure. I'm waiting for
Yeah.
Patrick to start using some vocabulary I can't understand again.
It'll come.
I know.
It'll come.
Facsimile.
All right,
But
going
no,
back to real estate, I'm going to veto this. All right,
Yeah.
so Joey, what are you anticipating for Friday? I'm curious.
Friday, man. Well, this is a terrible question to ask me, right? Because what's in my head is the opposite of what's going to happen, right?
And
So
this
why
doesn't
is
air
he
till
asking us
Saturday.
about Friday? What's that? And this doesn't air till Saturday. So if you're
Yeah.
listening on Saturday, you'll already know if I'm wrong.
Oh, that's why you don't
So
want to answer. Well,
yeah,
it's a,
well,
it's
obviously
a,
we got,
it's a thought.
Yeah.
It's a guess, right? I mean, there's no.
for sure.
All right, let me write this down so I know what to short. Go for it.
Right? Well, with job openings and labor turnover coming in low, and just the initial jobless claims week over week coming in at or above expectation, you would assume that our unemployment rate is going to be higher than what's anticipated right now. Because last month our unemployment rate was at 4.3%. The Fed never wanted to be over 4.2%, right?
Mm.
And that's the expectation for Friday, is that it's going to remain at 4.2%. I would imagine it stays at 4.3 or higher, and I would imagine non-farm payrolls, which are expected to come back at 160,000 after they were 114,000 last month, will be short of expectation as well. We see all this weakness in the job market over the last 2 or 3 months, and I think that the expectation is just higher than reality right now.
It's going to do.
if Joey Stradamus is right, which I'm betting 0,000, then we would see improvement in the rate market because futures traders would start pricing in a 50 bips rate reduction at the next Fed meeting. Right now, futures is assuming there's a 25 bips rate reduction at the September meeting. It would give more cause for the Fed to reduce more than what's currently anticipated.
Okay, so the rates are going to go
would drop.
down.
That would be the expectation. Would be
so
rates
are going
would
up.
be
Okay.
lower.
Which means gas prices are going down too.
They're going down, absolutely.
That's a gas.
Yes.
going
Having a
up.
good time, having a good
Hey,
time.
Joe,
Well, that would be good for your tank, though, right? Oh no, wait, you don't
doesn't
have
need
a
gas
you
for
don't have
that
gas
piece of-
you don't
It is
have
a
gas.
cyber truck.
It's a cyber
Gosh,
truck.
Cyber truck.
I hate it.
That thing is
I call
seriously.
that thing
I
a
saw
moneymaker.
I'm telling you what though, you caught onto somebody did whatever because there are so many of those wrapped now, and they
You're
go
welcome.
by and I feel like I'm in a different country because those things are like they're serious tanks. They're crazy looking.
I'm gonna get an ice cream truck and put
Looks
a
like a
wrap
triangle on wheels.
I'm going to buy one
It
and
does
send
look
it to
like a
Ukraine
triangle on
so they
wheels. I
can
agree
keep
with
up
that.
the fight.
on it. Joey, I got a question for you. A real serious
Poor
one.
Joey.
Matter of fact,
I believe you.
we've talked over the course of the last 2+ years of doing this show about how mortgage interest rates tend to track fairly. Aligned with the 10-year Treasury, and it's usually about a not 2 bips. That would it'd be 200 bips, two basis points above. The mortgage rates are 2 basis points above the Treasury, but I'm led to believe that it's been above that 2-point spread for quite some time at this point.
A long time. Yeah.
What the heck, man?
Yeah. No, I agree. What the heck? It's a bunch of phooey, if you ask me.
Well, there's still a big demand. There's not much
no,
supply.
I mean, there's usually a 2% spread between rates and the 10-year Treasury, and over the course of the last 2 years or so, 2.5 years, it's been over a 3-point spread. So, and what that means is, if the 10-year Treasury is right now, it's at a 3.79. In a normal market, we would see rates at 5.79, right? Right, so rates are not 5.79 right now, which is probably a good thing for buyers because they would be killing each other for houses. I mean, you're looking closer to mid-6s, so there's still like a 3-point spread in between the 10-year Treasury and this is prime pricing. I mean, there's so much disclosures I'm needing to be putting out there that I can't. So this is a general number: is that we're about 3 points higher on rates. I'm sorry, 1 point higher on rates than we would normally be in the current market environment.
So 6.5 is where we're at essentially right now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
6.5.
And you're anticipating what, 6?
Depending. 6. Like, you mean a full 200 point basis, a 200 bips drop in the MBS market on Friday? Man,
Sure.
You just blew his mind.
I would say the most you're going to get out of that, would be a quarter. I would anticipate an eighth, but the most would be a quarter.
So that's the thing too, is like people are not jumping at those numbers. They're only anticipating for it to keep going down. And that's where I've found in our market where we have a lot of people that will wait and see, which is a terrible way to
It's not
go
a good
about it.
strategy.
No,
I mean,
it's a
But that's been
terrible
that way
way.
for years.
I
know
I've
that.
always seen when the rates start going up, that's when I get super busy. It's like the fear of missing out. So once somebody feels, I got to hurry up and get it before the rates go higher, that's
Yeah, but
when I'm
FOMO's a normal thing. Like that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Steve's describing somewhat is people don't want to feel like fools when they borrowed money at 6.5%, and then they find out they could have borrowed it at 0.5 point lower, because you're in kind of a weird spot at that point. Refinancing, at least very in the very short term after purchasing, if it's only 0.5 point, it's probably not worth it, but you're still looking, you can get lower. And so now you're waiting for it to drop even lower, and you're kicking yourself because you're like, well, what? It's always this, well, why didn't I do it differently? It's human nature. I disagree with it in terms of if you want to be purely strategic, like an investor doesn't look at it that way at all. But a person who's just trying to buy a home to live in it, they're looking at it and they don't want to get ahead. They don't want to be sitting there, at the barbecue where everyone, starts comparing interest rates and they go, oh, you're at 7.25. Well, you got had. And it's like,
Barbecue.
well, I didn't, but okay, fine.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, the fact is that people, they want to wait and they want to be like, oh no, I'll go ahead and keep renting, and then rents are going up, and then you're paying more in rent or possibly close to it and not building equity and just paying someone else. The whole aspect of buying, right? If you don't buy, that's fine. I mean, there's so many people that are like, okay, I mean, I give this advice to a lot of clients. I'm like, listen, you don't have to move right now. So wait, it's not a big deal. You want to wait? Go for it. If you need to move, then do that. Some people would say that's not a smart business way of doing things. I'm an honest person. And the fact is that if it's not a good fit for you, I'm not going to tell you to do it. Now, if you have to move, then, the strategy there is, the rate will change and eventually you can refinance. But either you pay a couple $100,000 more now, or you pay very limited when you're obviously a couple $100,000 more, or you pay $1,000, $1,500 when you refinance. Is that accurate, Joey? Something of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be on the same page as people that are sitting on the sidelines right now are only harming themselves completely for that exact reason. I mean, you are going to get better deals price-wise today than you will a year from now, period. I'm just going to say that as a fact. I don't care if Joey Stradamus is out the window. This is just the reality, right?
Yeah.
The supply and demand issues are real economic issues, and they're going to be worse next year than they are right now.
Well, here's a couple questions I got. What is the cost of living adjustment? What is COLA? And not the definition, but what percentage is it right now?
Cost of living?
Gosh.
Yeah, would you
So
say
CPI?
we're at what are raises that would be expected that somebody would get at the year? Is it like 2%, 3%? What would be the cost of living that would be
Typically,
an increase?
you're looking at 2.5%. That's the average year is 2.5%.
Right.
Right now, CPI came back at 2.9%,
Ouch.
so you're negative 0.4%.
Very terrible
Okay.
corporate.
Well, and then now we take that and now we go to the house prices. What has been the increase of rent prices and house prices over the last year?
So the average rent price, I'm going to jump in here. The average jump for rent is anywhere between 6 to 8% a year.
And
That's like
there's the-
$50
right
to
there.
$75.
Your income is going up 3%, yet your cost, your overhead is going up 6 to 8, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but the rents have
behind
gone
the
up.
game.
Studios used to be, you could get a studio on Lakeshore Drive on a high rise for $800. Now they're like $15. And it's a studio. It's the same thing. It's the same broken down property. It's the same everything, right? The fact is, meaning it needs updates, if you will. But if you're renting them, why do you care? And if you're a landlord, then you're increasing your profitability tremendously now. I don't know the exact percentage of how much we've gone up, but my guess, and Patrick and obviously Joey, you might be able to give me a little bit more factual information, but I'd say it was at 8, maybe 6 to 8%. Now it's at what, 12 to 14? Am I crazy to even say that?
I have no idea. I don't really get involved in prices.
I listen to you in these situations.
No, fair enough. Well, I thought maybe you'd have some, because, you talk to clients all the time in regards to buy versus rent. So I'm assuming you have those conversations sometimes, Joey, with clients. So, the answer or the question there is, where is your money going to where it needs to go to build equity, or is your money going out the window to live somewhere and pay someone else, a fee? I guess I look at it that way. And this is, I was a renter at one point, right? We all were.
I was.
But at the same time, when you get down to it and realize how much money you actually lose when you rent, it's mind-blowing, and it's scary.
We all lose money in a bunch of different stuff, and I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, but it's the same thing as buying a new car.
Sure.
You're going to lose a ton of money like that.
But you never build equity in a car unless it becomes really, really old.
Then
right?
it starts going back up again.
Is that-
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, my father-in-law, that's probably one of the happiest things that ever happened to him. He bought a VW bus, one of those camper things
Sure.
where the top goes up and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think
It's called
said
Woodstock.
Is it?
69. What
He
is it?
was around back then.
49, 59. What's the
But he
first
ended
Woodstock?
He bought it for under $3,000. It was like 2,700 brand new.
Wow.
He had it all these years and sold it for 10 times as much, $27,000 that he ended up buying it from. They actually had
Wow.
to ship it away. So it was pretty impressive on eBay, and it was fun watching those numbers go up there. But where I was going with all this stuff was, you just don't realize what it is or what your plan is. It's kind of like same thing in the fire service. I wanted to be a fireman and a paramedic because it was cool. I didn't realize that, having a union that's going to protect my wages, having a pension with a defined benefit is going to take care of my family for the rest of my life and stuff like that. You don't realize the good. Owning a home and having that value go up, and then all of a sudden you realize what does it take to build wealth, that comes in there, and it's savings, it's real estate, and it's investments, that comes into this. You need all three of these things.
And you don't have to decide where to move, where you're going to move every year. You just
don't.
live somewhere.
Right.
And you're
Yeah,
in
exactly.
control.
Cool.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool. You're in control of these things. And then you're also positioned, and now you got some leverage in case the market does change enough and the rates do drop enough. Now you got property that you can refinance. Without that property, you can't get a lower mortgage.
And you also can make a lot of money from it too. I mean, my property when I bought it,
8 to 10% is what I think is normal, but everyone says I'm nuts when it comes
as
to
far as what
You're nuts.
increase,
the increase in property values. Yeah.
I think it all depends on where it's at. It depends on the schools. It depends on it depends on a lot of things with that aspect.
Depends
I mean,
on how
this
much
is a
in
big deal.
how much in demand is your property,
Right.
and how
Yeah,
many people,
exactly.
how many similar properties are similar to it. I mean, I just want to highlight a point that I think Joey made, which is that interest rates are what they are, but if you ask yourself the question, the houses that I am interested in looking at maybe buying, is it going to cost more in the future if I wait? And if the answer is yes, and you can afford to bite the bullet and get it now, ultimately, if we could teach ourselves not to shop based strictly on what the monthly payment is, and instead shopping on the value of the real estate, that's the strategic move. The reactionary move is just to look at the slider on the website that says how much you can, here's what you can afford if this is what your payment is, and then you look at it and you go, and then that's it.
well, that's another dumb way to look at things when you look to go buy a house. You need to talk to someone like Joey. He can break all the numbers for you down. There's 15 products he can provide to you, right? I mean,
Well, I'm curious on that.
Joey, you have 15 products?
Give me
I
some
don't know.
of those.
How many
products.
products do you guys have? Quite a few, right?
Man, it's a lot.
Tell me
It's a
about your
lot.
products, Joey.
Well, when you say products, you mean different types of mortgages, right?
Yes.
And forgive my ignorance here.
No, it's fine. I'm just listening to Patrick. Yes, that's correct.
All right. So,
Yeah.
But one of the things you mentioned about schools, and I want to hear from everybody as well, is that you take a 10. I know I'm all over the board. I'm like on ADD right now. You got a school and great schools that's rated as a 10 versus another community right next door that could be a 7 or an 8.
Yep.
That's a 20% difference in property values.
Maybe.
Between those
That's a little
areas.
extreme. I don't.
think?
That's not that. It's whether or not you want the kids going to a 10 or you want them to go to an 8. When you're talking about a 10 or an 8, that's not that big of a difference. When you're talking about a 10 or a 6, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, consider that 10 is going to, you're going to see that in your property tax bill, at least here in the Chicago area.
You're going to pay more.
So,
Absolutely.
in terms of,
100%.
and which affects the home values. If a home is worth so much, but you've got a property tax bill that's going to pull $1,000 out of your pocket, it's going to affect how much people can afford to pay for a home in that area.
And I get all that.
And how
but
much
that
you can sell it
also-
for.
But that drives the prices up.
I
on those
understand that,
neighborhoods.
but I mean, I get that,
And I hear a
doesn't
lot of
hurt.
people, even without children, they want to go to that area because that improves the property values. There's
Some
a reason
people-
why those houses are more expensive.
yeah.
You
Some
know,
people
it's
want
not
to
just
be.
the neighborhood; it's mostly the schools.
Some people want to be in certain areas because of the fact that the resale value. I always tell clients, like, unless the schools are really important to you or unless the resale value is really important to you, I would go after a home that you really like and just enjoy that home while you live there. The fact of the resale, you shouldn't be buying if you're always looking at resale because that's not how it works. I mean, it's part of it, but it's not everything. And too many people, in my opinion, as far as when they're buyers, they look at it as, oh, well, if it's not worth it now, it's never going to be worth it. I have buyers that say that, and it's like, no, that's not accurate. Or they ask, oh, what's the new property or the new area I should be buying in because it's an up-and-coming area?
Oh, Lord.
Well, first of all, I can't even answer that question.
It is a hard
that
one.
question-
But
No,
I
no.
have seen a lot of.
I can't
lot
answer
of
that question because it's
changing.
called Fair Housing Act as well.
Here, let me plant this mine right in front of
Yeah.
you. Can you walk over to me now?
Really, that would be
No,
part
you-
of fair housing.
Yeah, you can't really talk
Patrick?
about neighborhoods. Oh, this is a nice neighborhood. This is not so nice neighborhood.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's called
I mean,
redlining.
I've seen,
Or
some neighborhoods,
blockbusting.
like Lawndale, Woodlawn, and things like that. They were very depressed neighborhoods, and now they're building a lot of new construction in there, and those neighborhoods are skyrocketing.
Well, then
in
I tell
prices.
clients, listen, if you were looking for an area that you think that, you're trying to find something where, as you said, maybe a depressed area, if you will.
I wouldn't call it.
I wouldn't call it depressed area.
What is
However,
the proper terms? I'd like to learn.
I mean, I would if I was gonna even try to navigate that minefield, I'd probably talk in terms of investment in the community. I would say, this community is getting a lot of investment lately, and that might be something that is, that's going to help home values appreciate.
and I would also tell them to Google it. Because that's the best way to do it anyway. Because here's the thing.
would I Google
If you
for?
were to give advice and you were to say, this would be the area you want to buy based on your search criteria and what you're asking for and this, that, whatever, is based on those specific things. But if it had to do with the fact of like, Steve, do you think this property value in this area is going up based on the schools, based on this, based on that, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, listen, the fact is I think there has been a lot of new construction over here. There's been a lot of tear downs and new builds and so on that does in, actuality bring value up. However, I think Googling it and really understanding the areas would be a better way to go because I don't want to give that advice for two reasons. One, as we talked about, Fair Housing Act. Number two is also, what if I give you that advice and I'm wrong? I don't.
Or
We're always wrong.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to be that guy. And more importantly is, I don't want to tell you that something is going to be great if it's not because I don't have the factual information. My integrity is more important than that.
I would suggest. I think Steve's on the right track here, and I would even suggest something maybe even more effective, which would be search Reddit, because you're going to get people's actual opinions who aren't constrained by fair housing, and they're gonna tell you what they really think. And the best part about it is that it's self-curated because the best responses, they get the upvotes, and then they get toward the top of the responses. And if you really want to get the latest and greatest, post a thread on Reddit and say, hey, I'm looking at buying a home in the Chicago area. What are some of the neighborhoods that meet the criteria that that I have here, and here. You're going to get a lot of haters. You're going to get a lot of people with a lot of not so constructive advice, and maybe even saying some mean things. But you will most likely get some very useful information from a source like that. That's you literally you're throwing it out there to the general public and using the hive mind to mine the very best raw data.
I feel horrible because, I'm one of those boomers that I've heard of this mysterious machine called Reddit, but I have no idea how that thing works.
Sure. Well, I would probably stay off of Reddit for you. I think your head would explode.
All I'm hearing right now is we have a pool and a pond, and the pond would be good for you.
Listen,
is that what I'm hearing?
I would say that
pool's quite
your
large.
safe space is going to be the Facebook echo chamber. You and Mark Zuckerberg.
The Facebook.
You can you
book
and,
of face?
you and the Zuck can get on there and figure out which fair housing laws you want to violate.
I like Zuck. I cannot lie.
Ew.
All right, yeah, I'm going to start singing the
He's
whole
so
thing
gross. He had made for his wife for, I think it was her birthday. Look it up.
now. No, I'm
It's
not going to look it
horrific.
up. I got more important
It's
things to
horrific.
do.
Yeah,
I
you
want to
do.
look up
Seriously.
Googling.
You should look it
I'm
up.
not going to look it up. I refuse. But I
it's
know
quite,
Devin's going to do it. And
It's quite remarkable.
yeah,
Please,
CMO,
Devin,
count me
please
out.
post a picture in the live stream chat.
I don't think he can
Comments.
come in there. But what am I going to Google, though, when you talk about the neighborhoods? What do I want to learn?
What
if
do
you
you want to learn? That you ask a question that is not. How does Steve answer that question?
Well, he said Google it.
Right.
So what does
What's
that
it-
mean?
what's
So
it-
if you want to
what
know
is
about
important to
Avondale,
you?
Google it. You want to know about Wilmette, Google it. You want to know about Winnetka, Google it.
But is there anything specific that I should be Googling
you-
for? Like, what
what's-
is the schools or what is the crime rate?
Well,
or what
how
is
about-
the-
Charlie, what's important to you?
Yeah, what's important to you?
Everyone's
Exactly.
different. So if schools are important to you, focus on researching the best schools and what it's going to cost to send your
Or
kid
how
there.
about hey, how much of this? What has been the growing factor over in this area? What's been the last 5 years? How much has this area gone up in regards to profits, in regards to value, in regards to whatever? Again, whatever is important to you, as Patrick mentioned.
And that takes us right into what we started talking about this morning is where we were to where we're going and the amount of knowledge that's out there right now. And everybody's switching over to this artificial intelligence stuff. Even Google is. You type in any search, you're going to end up getting a paragraph right up at the very, very top
I don't
where it
like
comes
it.
in there.
Oh, you love AI.
Why don't you like
You
it?
love AI.
I mean, I got my reason why I
ChatGPT
don't
is
like
Patrick's
it. But
favorite.
I do
well,
like
he likes to make
ChatGPT.
pictures off of it.
I
you know?
do really
My
like to make
barbecue
pictures.
in the backyard.
It's true.
Suit
I've got some fun pictures of Steve, and I've got some pictures of him from ChatGPT. Just think about that one for a second.
Nope.
In my opinion, AI at this point is reliant on our. Reliant on our input. It's reliant on us interacting with it. It's not ready, in my opinion. As often as not, that paragraph you get at the top of the Google results isn't quite what I'm looking for, and that's why I don't
I
like
agree
it.
with that.
So it's still in the process of learning. Like it's gobbled up all of the Reddit information. It's gobbled up all of the the sources that are out there already. But I mean, the thing about artificial intelligence is that ultimately we're the ones that are going to train these AI tools, and if they don't have enough out there that they can source from, it's interesting. We've had that like auto complete on your Gmail account. You guys have dealt with that where you're typing a sentence and it'll finish your sentence for you.
Yes.
I
It
do love that.
Never says what I want to say, but
Do you-
it does finish it.
Well, yeah, because it's actually never mind.
It
I was
uses
gonna
a brain. No,
I was,
that's
I
why
was,
I
I was gonna,
criticize
I
It's
was
not
gonna,
boomer.
I was gonna burn you, but I'm gonna.
It's not boomer regulated.
Well, yeah, but no. Do you know what the major language data set that was used for that to train that?
No, I bet you're going to tell us, though.
I will. So, do you guys remember Enron?
Yes.
So Enron, one of the interesting things about the Enron case is that almost all of the internal emails that were sent and received by Enron employees were made available. They're publicly available through the you can request them through a Freedom of Information Act request from the Department of Justice, something like that. It's available. I might have got that particular fact wrong, so don't kill me if I did. But because it was such a robust data set that they were able to take and use all these emails, they're able to train their AI model to predict what the next thing you'll say based on all of these emails that it trained itself on. So you can thank one of the biggest frauds in the history of our country for that useful little tool.
But even that, there's a lot
So, like
of
an algorithm.
everything.
Well, it's
is.
just a big data set that they use to train. There's only so many things that come after. Please let me know if you have any question. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if it sees enough emails where that's like a commonly used phrase, it then says, as a predictive model, I'm going to predict that that's what is coming next, and that's what it does.
Joey, what are you seeing as far as that goes?
Well, with this new modeling and
AI,
I don't know why we're
how it
bringing up
affects
that,
your
right?
business.
So the biggest thing for me has been kind of awesome. I have a home equity line of credit that can fund, if it's an investment property, literally if you apply today, you'd have the funds tomorrow. And all they're doing on my end, they take, because there's so much data available, right? Like housing data, sales prices, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms. They can't take into account any updates to the properties, but homes that have sold in your area that are similar to yours outside of any updates, they'll use what's called an automated valuation model for the property value. They can pull public records immediately to see how much you owe on your current one to come up with a combined loan to value. They'll have you. So Plaid is a system that allows you to attach your bank accounts to mortgage people, essentially, right? So you don't have to send us bank statements to make your life essentially a little bit easier. So if we need to refresh assets for earnest money, blah blah blah, we don't have to bug you for it. So they allow you to connect Plaid, and what they do is they check for income deposits, right? And then they gross it up because obviously your net is not what they qualify off of. So they gross it up by 25% to get your income estimate, and then they automatically generate offers for these HELOCs. And it's crazy because it's a loan that you still need a person behind it, right? A loan officer behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's literally, I can have someone close within 20 minutes of applying, and then they get funded the next day if it's an investment property. If it's a primary residence, you'll have the funds after the rescission period ends. But yeah, and they use a remote online notary, so it's just you can do a video call on your iPhone real quick and just sign away your pay. It's crazy. It's crazy the things that you can do.
Joe's making this sound sophisticated. It's actually him just Venmoing you some money because he thinks you're good for it.
It's a lot of
Sir,
money.
that would be so illegal. But yeah, man. I mean, and obviously the next thing that comes across is like, how is this going to affect us in the first lien market? How is this going to affect us down the road when these kinds of systems are available and accepted by the GSEs, the government service entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae? Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, and hopefully it all ends up very good for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time, honestly, that this. I mean, I'm not singling you out, Joey, or the mortgage industry, just real estate in general, how resistant it is to adapting new technologies. The idea that there's so much paper still involved with this is really an indictment of the industry and our failure to sort of keep up with the times. I mean, there's no reason that Charlie's like, oh, what's a printer? And Steve and I are like, well, a printer is a very useful thing because I do a lot of paper. There's no reason Steve and I should be still involved with printers and paper. And the fact that I can just now have clients sign things and have it notarized without them physically going to find a notary is, it's about darn time, to be honest with you. And maybe I'm as guilty as the next. It didn't occur to me until maybe the last 3-4 closings that I'm doing my clients a disservice by sending them a bunch of documents to sign and saying, go find a notary. Good luck. It's like.
So are you gonna eventually be able to do? I'm a buyer and I'm closing. Are you eventually gonna be able to do a Zoom with me and tell me whatever it is on page 2? And then I look at page 2, I listen to you on a Zoom, and then I sign it, and then it's signed.
I mean, we've been doing that since 2020, where it's still, there's paper involved, but many lawyers, I'm not one of them, but many lawyers, they do handle all of their closings on Zoom or over the phone or over FaceTime.
But how do you do that where it has to be, first of all, it has to be, you have to be in front of the person explaining stuff to them. And then what do you just send everything out? Are you talking about since 2020 sending everything out for POA aspects?
No, I mean, if you're talking about for buyers, right? So they'll be at the title company because that's still where we're at with things. And if the attorney is not there in person, what the closer will do is send us a PDF with all of the documents in the same order as what's been placed in front of the buyer. I like to do it with Zoom when I do handle something remotely. I mean, there's only so many places I can be at one time in the world. So, sometimes my schedule doesn't line up with what random date was put on a contract. And, if I'm, for example, in Costa Rica, which happened, I did 2 closings while I was in Costa Rica.
Nice.
I'm not going to delay someone's buying of their house. I mean, they've got a lot of other things planned based on that date. So, we'll make it work. But we go through and I describe each document, and if they have questions, we can go back and forth. And that's why I like Zoom, because having that face-to-face, albeit we're quite a far distance in reality, having that face-to-face does make it go just that much more smoothly, because we can, the communication is not just the words or the way they're being used. You also have the visual, which there's a lot of communication that takes place just with the visual, believe it or not. So yeah, we can do that, but ultimately none of that should be on paper. And I've had, there are some, I won't name them because this isn't an ad for anyone else, any other mortgage company other than Joey's. But they have something called, I won't even call it. They'd have it where a portion of the loan package can be signed electronically, and I've even seen a handful where they signed the note electronically. Which the first time I saw that was actually the first time the closer had seen that, and this guy does like a ton of closing at CT, and I was like, you ever seen a note electronically signed? He's like, this first one on me. I was like, well, if it's the first one on you, I feel good about that, because I've not missed anything. But that's now becoming a thing, and if you can sign a note electronically, there is no reason you can't have a mortgage signed electronically. And quite frankly, having someone sign with a pen is not as secure as an e-signature. Anyone can forge someone's signature with a pen. And and all you need is either a notary that doesn't understand what's happening or is in on it, and there you have a forged document. With electronic signature and with this remote online notarization, Joe, you might be able to get into more of the detail of that. I would trust over any other means of making sure that the person who signed it is the person who says they are. The remote online notarization, I think, is the most secure way of having something signed and notarized.
And track it. They're going to have how you did it, the computer, all that information's going to be there when you did it. That's not on a piece of paper.
Right, and even just a regular e-signature, you at least have it nailed down to a device, to an IP address. You can narrow things down considerably knowing the device that was used to sign something, as opposed to this was, we've determined this to be a forgery. All right, well, who signed it? We don't know.
There it is. And you got no way to track it or come back into this stuff.
So we need to come on, let's get there. Let's get there with everything just being electronic. Let's get rid of this paper.
Yeah, and I guess, too, in real estate, and I'm doing my horrible segue again, I want to keep going back to some sort of computer models that I know exist. I go back to like 2007, 2008, when we had that crush in the mortgage business, but we also had super high gas prices then too, and there was a fast shortage. And I remember there was one gas station that it was like within an hour or two, they went up to $20 a gallon on their sign.
What?
Yeah, and the only thing that I could think of,
I've never heard of that.
This was one gas station. It was down in Bolingbrook. It was off of Weber Road and Fountain Road, right in that ballpark there. And I'm like, there's no way. And it was lined up. There was so many people there. They couldn't get fuel and stuff like that. It was a shortage. I went down probably about a mile south from there, and I ended up getting gas for $4.25. Which was still expensive in the early 2000s and stuff.
You just freaked Joey out.
You're right, Joey.
I think so, But the whole idea is, there's got to be some sort of programs. I heard there's programs out there that actually trade stocks, where they'll buy at one price, and then as soon as it goes up by 2 cents, they'll sell it and stuff. And all this stuff is automated. And I'm just wondering if all that stuff is going to start happening in the real estate business, too. If it doesn't exist already. I'm sure there's something out there.
Yeah, I think people have stuff like that in mind. I mean, if you talk to the big tech companies in the space, and we all know who we're talking about. These are all things they're talking about, and they're talking about it in the sense that if we can develop the tools to make it easier. I mean, I had a client years ago tell me if you could develop a way to make the real estate transaction process not so difficult, you'd be a billionaire. And I didn't really have any way to disagree with him about that. There is a lot of friction in the system. There's also a lot of vested interest, and there's also a lot of we've always done that, and we've always done it that way. That just permeates, and that's part of human nature. That's not just a real estate thing. But as things evolve, as Zoom Court didn't exist until May, June 2020, and now that is the primary way people go to court for anything other than like a major hearing or a trial.
I do like watching those videos from Zoom courts and stuff like that, especially with the guy that lost his driver's license and he's doing his Zoom call from his
suspended
car.
license. Yeah, that's good stuff.
And hold on, let me pull over so I could do the Zoom thing. And he's got the judge and everybody else on it. Wait a minute, you're driving, and doing a court thing here.
I'm not a cat. I'm a real lawyer.
Oh, I like that one too.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best all time. I mean, if we're talking about like the COVID Mount Rushmore of memes, that's got to be up there. It's got to be on there. I'll work on the other three, but that one's up there.
But even with that, it made just about every single generation come to the acceptance of virtual meetings and working from your house and stuff like that. It just became accepted in a flash. And even with our business, when we do that Zoom follow-up stuff, that helps. When people can see stuff, you could share pictures, you could talk about this. There's a whole lot of stuff that comes on there. And we've been getting a lot of video reviews too, but I'm digressing on that one.
Yeah, I think embracing change is really an excellent way of succeeding in business, to be honest.
And I think we're going to end up having more and more stuff that's going to be changing in the real estate, the mortgage, the attorneys, even in our business and the home inspection
and more
business.
And more quickly. That's the thing. The pace keeps going and accelerating, and at a certain point I'm just going to check out and head to Costa Rica, but for the time being I gotta stick with it.
I've heard that place is pretty awesome. Evidently need to go.
Awesome.
I want to go too.
Yeah.
But I did end up buying at Costco. It was the last time they sold rolls of fax paper. You got to spend $200 on it and stuff like that. So I do have that all stocked up, ready to go. And I hope you're okay, Joey.
Yes.
And
that
next toilet,
yeah, that was a good one.
over here.
the next toilet paper shortage, Charlie is covered.
And, well, not to, yeah, well, with fax paper, but that's going to burn.
I tried to
anyway, we got
to quick enough.
right? Patrick, if you don't mind, give us your contact information. We're running out of time.
Don't want to know why you know that fax paper will make it burn.
It's so hard.
On that note, I am Patrick Loftus. I'm a serious lawyer, seriously. If you are buying or selling a home, hire me. I promise things will go more smoothly than if you're hiring another lawyer. On Instagram, Loftus_law. On TikTok, at Loftus Law.
Steve, please.
Sure. Steve Davis, the Kamar Group and Real Brokerage. If you want an agent that actually tells you the truth and is all about integrity and not about just, telling you things that you want to hear, please feel free to reach out to me, 312-513-6314. And you can find me on Instagram at I'm Steve Davis.
Sounds good. Joey, please.
Why, yes. You can find me, Joey Mathews, at thevaloannerd.com. You can find me across all the social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd. You can call or text me at 630-235-2405.
Yeah, and choose your professionals wisely, okay? There's a lot of great people in this business, and there's a lot not so great people. And speaking of great people, I want to give a special thank you to Devin Tingle for making everything work. My name is Charlie Bellefontaine, and